Alright, chat. Why fools make timeless heroes? Lock in.
Kid can turn himself invisible. Watch this. He can do it now.
No charge. Yeah.
Can't do it on command.
He can't do it on command.
On paper, a strong and capable hero should never get old. But in practice, they kinda do. Which is exactly why I consider the most timeless type
I
of
love
hero
this nigga's
to
voice.
actually
Oh my
be
god. I love his voice. I love his voice. His voice is so calming. What?
the idiot.
I didn't watch Kung Fu Panda 3. I don't think I watched it. Was that the one where the pandas, like, they had a bunch of pandas?
The more I try to study storytelling, the more I learn that, at least in the West, it's all about the protagonist. More than the what, audiences care about the who. So to try and bring my 2 cents to the discourse, I created a simple chart to
I love how
hopefully
he's
help
talking.
examine what makes
His
an
voice is so
effective
calming.
protagonist, well,
Yo, what's good, chat?
effective.
How you
Ultimately,
doing?
I think it all boils down to 3 traits. The first is resolve, which is an unwavering drive toward a goal or belief. The second is influence, which comes in the form of title or charisma and is used to attract and persuade
love
the
this type
characters
of
around
videos,
them. Lastly, competence, the distinct capability to solve the problems that the story presents. Using this overly confusing ternary plot I made, we can visualize a character's composition of these 3 traits.
Completely off the plot. This triangle reminds me of the first time that I went to SS1 in a new school, and they had like this you know those charts that they make on the board, like on their walls of a classroom, and then they had this chart, but it was for like how society works, or like the levels of man.
Since characters tend to change over time, we can just pinpoint where a character begins their story and track where they go by the end. In my past 3 videos, I've come to the conclusion that the most effective protagonists will reach a balance across all 3 traits, giving them the widest toolset to move the story forward. So when we find that a character lacks a specific trait, it usually indicates to us that the story will be about them learning to harness it. In today's video, I found an archetype of characters who start with influence and resolve, but initially lack competence, and must build it up throughout the course of their story. I'm calling them prophets because it starts with a P, and so do the other 2 categories. So let's jump right in and see what it is that makes this
Okay.
archetype such
Alright,
a
fair
timeless
enough,
tool
fair
for
enough.
storytelling.
Yo,
The
chat, we're not
first
playing
step
Kodem
in
today.
Creating an idiot hero is creating an idiot. For the examples in today's video, I'll be going over Kung Fu Panda, Into the Spider-Verse, and the Lego Movie. Meaning our idiots
I
are
never
Papa
watched the
Ping,
Lego Movie.
Miles Morales, and Emmett Brakowski. Calling these
wait,
guys
did I?
idiots
I
is
think I
pretty
did.
harsh.
I don't
They're
remember.
more like fish out of water, so to say. As we're gonna soon see, incompetence comes in many shapes and sizes, so for each story, I'll be sure to clarify just what I mean by it. First off, Po, the panda with dreams of serving kick-ass rather than noodles. In Kung Fu Panda, believe it or not, competence comes in the form of Kung Fu. Focus, stamina, dexterity, and grace are all things that make a talented fighter, and they're all antonyms of what it means to be Po. He leaves a messy trail of failure everywhere he goes.
There's one thing that I know that almost everybody did. We all shipped Po and Tigress. We all did that shit. There's no way nobody did. There's no way you can say that you watched Kung Fu Panda and you didn't ship Po and Tigress.
And that's before he
Also, chat, I don't know whether it's just my memory, but did we have like a Nickelodeon series about Kung Fu Panda? Okay, we did.
even throws his first punch. Is he good at some things? For sure, he's an expert chef. But like I said, in his universe, if you can't fight, you can't win. Love the guy, but in the context of his environment, Po is an idiot. What about Miles Morales? Isn't he like an academic wizard who gets into a prestigious middle school and aces his exams? Not to mention he has literal
I just remember that every single Spider-Man was basically like a brainiac or something.
superpowers.
Maybe that's why I'm Spider-Man. Because I have so much brain. I mean,
Fair points, yes, but I'm going to move the goalposts a little bit. Because remember, competence is relative. In the Spider-Verse, literally everyone gets good grades and has superpowers.
Oh, I
That's
just
the
said that
barrier of
shit.
entry, the bare minimum. To be competent in the Spider-Verse, you have to know how to fully harness your powers. At the very least, you should be able to use them on command. But at the start of Miles' story, he couldn't be further from this, making even Miles Morales an idiot. When looking for incompetence,
if this guy talks to me, Hex, how you doing? If this guy talks to me, like as my lecturer or whatever, I would listen, but at the same time, his voice is so soothing, I would completely forget about what he's saying and just start paying attention to like the voice itself.
in protagonists, though, you really can't get much more accurate than the Lego Movie's Emmett Brakowski. In the Lego Movie, competence comes in the form of creativity. The more original the builder, the more competent the character. With Emmett, unless he's given concrete instructions, he is completely incapable.
I still
of
love
building
how like
anything at all.
Legos move is like.
and let
You guys
alone
watch
building,
Ninjago?
he can barely
What? I'm talking
form
too much,
original
Jesus.
thoughts. For all intents and purposes, he is the single least creative character in his entire universe. And in the Lego movie, you can't get much more incompetent than that. An idiot to out-idiot all idiots. So step 1 is complete for all 3 movies. We've determined what competence looks like, and in turn, what it does not. But we have to make sure these incompetent characters are still worth following. Remember, they're not just idiot characters, they're idiot heroes. So let's make them worthy of being the lead by establishing some influence and resolve. The easiest way to make a character worth following is to give them some degree of influence, either externally in the form of a title or internally in the form of charisma. Regardless of form, they'll be able to attract and persuade the characters around them by naturally putting them in the center of the story. Since making this chart, I've been calling influence a cheat code, and I still stand by that. For example, let's look at Emmett again. The most significant thing about him is his insignificance. He is as bland and stale and unoriginal as a character could possibly be, but by understanding influence, we can turn a nobody into a somebody with just a single
Something is
scene.
looking
While
for
I
three
think
people?
Emmett's a
Yeah.
likable enough guy, none of the other characters in his story agree. Clearly, charisma isn't an option, so to give Emmett influence, we have to give him a title. How about the special? Yeah, by slapping on the piece of resistance to him, we have suddenly turned the most mundane character into the keystone of a revolution. Now that sounds a little more like a hero, right? But if we stop there, Emmett would be nothing more than a
I've not
mule.
watched
The
this
story would only move as
this
far
video, so
forward
I
as
wouldn't
the other
even. I haven't
characters
watched
could
the
drag
Lego
him,
movie, so I have
making
no
him
idea
more
what
of
it's
a
about.
hindrance than a
Honestly,
hero. This is where resolve comes in.
hold on, I
And then
gotta reply a text. Give me a sec. All right, back to it.
Needs to want something
Appreciate you-
so
appreciate you
badly
guys with
that
the
he
live-
becomes a
with the
driver in
likes,
the
by the
story,
way.
not just the cargo. So when he's presented with the opportunity to be somebody who is special to someone, it's enough to get him on board with this journey, even if he's in way over his head. Still an idiot, yes, but now an idiot we can get behind. On a near identical note, we can do the
something we
exact same
actually
thing
know.
with Poe. Now, Poe definitely has a lot more character to him than Emmett does, but being fun to be around isn't really a top priority when the impending threat of Tai Lung looms over all of China. All this is to say, Poe will need a title greater than
Tai Lung had so much what's it called, aura though. Imagine having the entirety of China run away solely because you are coming there. That's crazy.
There's new
Like,
ability
everybody was
to
so
have a
scared.
role in this story. To go from zero to hero, let's give him the title as the Dragon Warrior. Just like that, he goes from a guy who couldn't even watch the show to the main event. But even a title like Dragon Warrior isn't enough to spark an entire story. Poe will need resolve too, especially considering how absolutely nobody wanted to see Oogway pick him. Despite all of their best effort to kick him to the curb, Poe keeps getting back up and trying again. Between his passion
I
for
love
Kung
that,
Fu
though.
and his desire to change into someone
love
he can
that.
respect, it's safe to say Poe has no shortage of resolve, meaning this idiot is more than meets the eye.
They go.
As for Miles Morales, the story beats aren't quite as one-to-one as the prior two examples, but the main ideas remain. Like Emmett becoming the Special and Poe becoming the Dragon Warrior, Miles gets thrown into a new world when he is bit by the radioactive spider. This changes his title from Miles the Middle Schooler to Miles the Local Spider-Man, meaning it will only be a matter of time for his natural influence.
But he was
to
short
do
in the
its thing.
beginning.
But
I also
when
didn't
Peter
watch
Parker entrusts him
the
with the kill switch to the
Spider-Man,
Collider. Had he
Spider-Verse
just been
movies.
some kid, this story would have stopped here. But thanks to his title, yes, I consider his powers a title in this context, he naturally attracts a story. But as you might have picked up by now, just being entrusted with the kill switch isn't enough to carry the story forward. Miles will need to buy into the mission too. He'll need resolve. From the very start, we saw that Miles has a drive in him. The direction, however, isn't clear. He wants to be himself, but he also wants to make people proud. He's stuck in this weird middle zone of balancing expectations and self-expression. So when he's given this mission to save the entire world, it's like a perfect crossroads for him to fully direct all his potential toward. Meaning, not only does he agree, but he's completely on board. He will fulfill his promise to Peter. So is he an idiot Spider-Man? Yes, but he's a Spider-Man nonetheless. So just like that, by adding
But
some
like
proper
idiot
influence and
in
resolve, we've
in the
turned
way
these
where
three
he's like
fools into
he's not dumber than the rest of the people there. I think the idiot in this case is the fact that he doesn't have as much skill as the rest of them. I think that's what it is.
potential heroes. This is
I haven't
part
watched the
where we
movie,
can
though,
use
so I
that
wouldn't know.
chart I showed off earlier to visualize the character compositions of our three protagonists. As a reminder, this chart is weighted, so it's a relative comparison. With an indomitable drive and a 1,000-year prophecy behind him, I'd say Poe's split is about 55% resolve, 40% influence, and maybe 5% competence. As for Emmett, who is driven by a small crush and is glued to the rebellion's only chance, I pin him here with 30% resolve, 70% influence, and 0% competence. As for Miles, who's got both grit in charm, yet has powers he can't quite control, I'd put him here. 50% resolve, 40% influence, and 10% competence. So according to the chart, we've got 3 prophets on our hands who have to somehow build competence if they're going to save the world. At first glance, audiences will love these guys because they're
Chat, Loki, I couldn't understand what the chat was saying just now until like until he said that.
underdogs, easy to root for and fun to watch them grow. Writers, on the other hand, will see these guys and start foaming at the mouth with excitement. The characters might each be idiots in their own respective universes, but that also makes them blank canvases, perfect vessels for narrative change. Sure,
Speaking of idiot heroes or like idiot characters in general, like do you guys have that theory about like Patrick being extremely smart? Like, and knowing exactly what he's doing? It's kind of like weaponized incompetence, where he doesn't do things based off the fact that he doesn't. It's not because he doesn't actually know them. He just pretends not to know them because he's too lazy to do it.
they lack competence now, but that's just a clear signal that their story's about acquiring it. Before they do that, though, they'll have to rely on their influence and resolve to help push the story forward, and so each of them do just that. If it wasn't obvious, saving the world will require extreme competence, experience, wisdom, and a general mastery of some specific skill. Apparently to Miles, though, this wasn't obvious. Right off the bat, he tries his luck with like a level 1 Spider-Man challenge and completely destroys the kill switch, because our boy is still an idiot.
Hey.
But he's a charismatic and determined idiot. So when Peter B. Parker shows up and is ready to take the story into his own hands, Miles is able to convince him to bring him along and teach him how to be Spider-Man. Emmett Brakowski, however, doesn't have that luxury of naivety. As soon as he gains influence as the Special, the story starts whether he's ready or not. Police close in on him and are prepared to execute him, but thanks to his role as the Chosen One, Master Builder Wildstyle comes to his rescue. FYI, get used to other characters doing heavy lifting in this video, because incompetent heroes need all the help they can get. That
Okay, so
help would
basically
be
he's not
allies,
doing
mentors, or
anything.
in Poe's case, mentors. Despite all of the resilience that Poe displayed, Master Shifu was still ready to quit on him. He was convinced the prophecy was wrong and there must have been some mistake. But while Shifu had no respect for Poe, he had complete respect for Oogway. So, after some convincing, Oogway was finally able to persuade
I just remembered something about like Oogway. This nigga heard Tai Lung was coming back and instantly decided to dip. Mind you, he didn't die. He just decided to go to the spirit world because he's not ready to deal with Tai Lung.
Shifu to train Poe. And just like that, we've set up each of our heroes with the help they so desperately need. For my observant viewers, you might recognize that this mentor step sounds a lot like Joseph Campbell's The Hero's Journey. Personally, I try to avoid treating story structure like a formula, but I still think this is a point worth noting when we're talking about timeless storytelling. You can't get much more timeless.
This says call to adventure, supernatural aid, threshold guardian. I don't know what this means. Threshold guardians, threshold beginning of the transformation. Okay. The helper. Okay, I'm guessing the helper in this case is going to be Shifu or Oogway in Kung Fu Panda sense. Okay, no, helper would be Shifu, mentor would be Oogway, or is it the other way around? Then challenges are temptation. I'm guessing that's the whole training arc and everything. Helper still helps out around this same place again, so that's still definitely training arc. Abyss, death, and rebirth. So this is where he stops having the mindset of I can't do it and then figures out a way that he can't do it and then moves on. Transformation, atonement. I think I don't know what Poe would be atoning for. Return and then rinse and repeat.
Then the hero's journey. To go from idiot to expert in a single movie isn't really feasible through traditional training routes. And frankly, I wouldn't want to see it happen that way either. Take a character like Tigress, for example. She had been training in Kung Fu since she was a child. Chosen One or not, it wouldn't really be satisfying for Poe to surpass her in skill by doing the exact same training, just faster. But that doesn't mean our heroes are hopeless. It just means that the student and the master will have to meet in the middle somewhere.
Yeah.
Find what Poe can do and work from there.
I
So
just
when
said
Shifu
this.
notices Poe's food-driven motivation, competence in Kung Fu suddenly looks a lot more possible. By combining two seemingly opposing ideas, which are a panda's desire to eat and martial arts, they expedite his training and create something new altogether. Suddenly, Poe might just be competent enough to give them a fighting chance. This meeting in the middle moment isn't just exclusive to Poe though. We've established that Emmett and original ideas don't mesh. but what he is good for is following instructions. So when they're preparing to infiltrate Octan Tower, they combine the Master Builder's originality with Emmett's uniformity, two would-be opposites creating something new, becoming stronger than ever before. This time, the rebellion advances further than it ever had, and it might just be Emmett's newfound competence.
But that's so beautiful though. Like the fact that he doesn't have any skill, like when it comes to thinking for himself, he doesn't really have anything, but he's extremely skilled in following instructions. So all you have to do is just give him a clear set path, and then you're sure that he's going to be able to deliver.
How about Miles though? While he's clearly the least competent of the Spider People, Peter B. Parker places his hope in Miles' unique abilities like shock venom and invisibility. Is he anywhere near the other Spider People in competence? No. But by meeting in the middle and leaning into what Miles can do, it redefines what competence can even look like. This meeting in the middle is extremely important when making a timeless story. We don't want to see these characters sacrifice who they are in order to gain the necessary competence, and we don't want them to completely transform into someone they're not. Instead, we want them to synthesize who they already are and who they have to be. As we're going to see soon, this is where narratives truly shine. If it's true that our characters have really built up the necessary competence to win, then, well, they should just go ahead and win already, right? So go on, Emmett, since you're so competent, just plug the Craggle and call it a day. After all, the narrative behind the Lego movie is about following instructions, right? Yeah, if it wasn't obvious, Emmett is still incompetent. And to make matters worse, his mentor Vitruvius informs him that the prophecy that made him the Special was actually just made up. So now not only is Emmett incompetent, but the title that gave him influence is gone too. Well, I don't know about you guys, but I want nothing to do with Emmett now. So let's check in on our other two heroes. Wait, why is Miles tied up? He's not ready? But I thought the narrative of Into the Spider-Verse was about being different. Well, maybe not quite, because Miles is plenty different, but he still can't use his powers on command. He's still incompetent, but at least Poe's still good at Kung Fu, right? It doesn't matter that the Furious Five were no match for Tai Lung, because the narrative behind Kung Fu Panda is about how you just have to be food motivated to win, right? Wait, don't tell me. The Dragon Scroll has been blank this entire time too? So that prophecy was also just a lie, and Poe's just a fraud? An incompetent noodle chef in way over his head? Well, our idiot heroes are once again just idiots, back at square one. Has all of this been for naught, or is there some silver lining?
This is where the resilience comes in. So it's not like, how do I explain this? It's not like, yes, the whole thing that started pushing them towards doing it in the first place is no longer there, but like the fact that now they have the resilience to continue it is now what's making it better.
I mean, it seems just moments ago they were each basking in the glory of their competence. So how is it that without any physical changes since then, they've lost every ounce of competence that they've spent all movie gaining? Strange, huh? Well, regardless of wherever that competence went, we can't forget what brought them this far: influence and resolve. As we've seen in all three examples, title as a form of influence can be extremely powerful, especially when that title is the chosen one. But title can also just be family. Being another character's son is enough to naturally invite that character into the story, especially when there's nobody else left for the hero. So with Miles, we invite that
sorry, I know I'm getting distracted, but what is this head shape? It looks like like Patrick but square-headed.
To the story, especially when there's nobody else left for the hero. So with Miles both literally and figuratively trapped, his dad comes to his rescue in a way that he could never expect.
Take off the bonnet and say
to him that no matter what it is that Miles wants in this world, he will be there to support him. In Miles' tug of war between choosing his own path versus not letting people down, his dad casually just bridged the two worlds together in a perfect synthesis. Coincidentally, fatherly advice was just what Poe needed too. When he was torn between being honest and being strong, his dad came in with the exact advice he needed to hear. The secret ingredient to his secret ingredient soup is nothing more than belief. Apply that same logic to Poe's conflict, and it too bridges the gap and synthesizes the two sides. As for Emmett, he might not have a dad to tell him what he needs to hear, but he does have a Morgan Freeman. I mean a Vitruvius. I mean a dead Vitruvius. Ghost thing. Anyway, made up prophecy or not, Emmett's influence remains. It brings Vitruvius back from the dead to deliver the most important message. Basically,
did the budget just go to zero, like during this scene? We can see the string, or was that like done on purpose?
The exact same one from Kung Fu Panda. To be special, you simply have to believe you're special. In his personal tug of war between being ordinary and being special, Vitruvius helps Emmett close this gap by synthesizing the two ideas into one. Finally, in conjunction with their inherent skills and their learned skills, our heroes have each acquired the last missing piece they needed to truly unlock competence. Having finally reached that glorious 3-trait balance that I've been preaching about this entire video, our heroes are now fully realized and ready to save the day. Through his resolve, Emmett hurls himself out the window and into the abyss. Miles jumps off a building in the name of resolve too. And Poe, he runs up a bunch of stairs. As for competence, Emmett takes a beat straight from
Why
the
are we
Matrix and
discrediting
has
Poe?
unlocked Master Builder
You know how many
Vision,
stairs
which
that
he
is?
uses to fight back against President Business.
You're always good on
Miles
most
has
knowledge. How
mastered
you
his
doing?
powers too,
Well, I know it was
which
good.
he uses at the perfect time to stop Kingpin. And Poe embraces his unique style of kung fu to completely beat down Tai Lung. As for influence,
Chat. Side note again. Poe kind of looks like what is this freeze frame? Oh my god.
has
Wait,
mastered
hold
his
on.
powers too, which he uses at the
wait,
perfect time to
pause.
stop Kingpin. And Poe embraces his
Okay,
unique
in
style
this
of
where he hits him with his belly and everything, he looks like my dean climbing up a bunch of staircases.
kung fu to completely beat down Tai Lung. As for influence, by winning the final fights, they each influence the ultimate changes in their world. Emmett changes the Lego world by showcasing the importance of individuality. Poe changes kung fu by proving it's not one size fits all. And while most of the world wasn't even aware that Miles saved it, he helped the Spider People and his father understand the importance of embracing identity. At last, our idiot heroes are just heroes. I
Did
hope
he
you
actually
now
get
see
together with
exactly
her?
why an incompetent hero is a narrative's best
'Cause I never
friend.
watched
In
it.
these
I want to
stories,
know.
becoming competent isn't just about training or studying or practicing. These are all external means to an end. Important, yes, but the greatest narratives go beyond that. The most compelling narratives are the ones that can interweave the external and the internal, meaning only when the character changes on the inside can they also change the outside. Only when Miles bridged expectations with self-expression could he harness his powers. Only when Poe bridged his inherent panda traits with self-confidence could he master kung fu. And only when Emmett bridged his insignificance with significance could he master building. By having such an obvious flaw be portrayed by incompetence, writers can tell a narrative of how to fix that flaw and grant competence as a reward. So I think this is the last protagonist video I'm going to make for a while now. While I think the chart is a great
It's a
tool,
beautiful
it's
video.
definitely not perfect, and I don't think it's exhaustive in the way I was hoping it would be. In the meantime, I've been considering doing maybe deep dives or candid reviews on single movies and series.
Now this is the W video. I like this guy. I love his voice. His voice is so calming, I swear. Yeah, you see what I'm talking about? Bro's voice can make anything sound like a bedtime story. I'm serious. His voice is literally so calming. That's the first thing that I said once I clicked on the video. So W fucking video. Squam. How do you see the whole thing that pissed me off throughout this entire video was I couldn't pronounce his name off rip. Squampopoulos. Oh my god. Squampopoulos. Yeah. Bro reacting or watching YT. Yeah, we watching and reacting to YT at the same time. He was saying a lot of things that were important for me to listen to, and I didn't want to talk over him. That's why I kept quiet. But W video, I like this guy. I'm subscribing to this guy. W video.